Hello everyone, this is John with Heartspeed. I'm here today with Carolyn O'Brien Kardos. A couple of days ago I was at the Newtown Park and they were playing a big band music, and I saw this lady kind of dancing, and her hair was this beautiful teal color, and I had to walk up to her and talk to her. And I met this woman, and she's here and she's got a story that is amazing. Carolyn, would you please tell us your story?
Hi, John.
Hi.
Sure. Well, April 1st, April Fool's Day, 2013, I was diagnosed with stage 3C ovarian cancer. The way I detected it was I was getting pains in my groin area, I guess. They weren't steady. One day this pain, one day that pain, and one night it got very bad, and I took an Aleve before I went to sleep, thinking that it was a muscle pull and it would help it, and it didn't. So the next day I called my primary care doctor and went to see her, and she knows I'm not the type of person who cries wolf at every ache and pain. So she first said I had a UTI, which that in itself is unusual because I was 60 years old and never in my 60 years had I ever had a UTI. She put me on antibiotics for the weekend, called me Monday, the pain was still there, so she sent me to the local hospital to have an MRI, and they discovered a tumor. She called me the next day, told me there was something there, and I had to find a GYN oncologist, which in our little town there wasn't any, so I went to Syracuse, New York, and met with a doctor. We made plans to have the surgery, which happened on April 1st. Now, the first doctor told my husband, my son, and I, this is not cancer. This is just a benign tumor and nothing to worry about. That she's just going to go in and take it out because because it's causing me pain. So it's only going to be a half hour. She rolled me into the operating room, and 5.5 hours later, she came out and told my husband and son that it was ovarian cancer, and they would be lucky if I was alive 3 months later. So they didn't tell me. Actually nobody told me other than I had cancer what was happening. I think the doctor just figured my husband and son told me, and I don't think my husband and son could actually get the words out of their mouth. So I was in the hospital for 12 days. And eventually when I got out, I made an appointment and went to see the doctor again for a treatment plan. And when I went and sat with her, she explained to me that my type of ovarian cancer, which I later found out there's 30 different types of ovarian cancer, my type of ovarian cancer, only 2% of the women who have ovarian cancer had the type that I had. And she had no idea how to treat it. She said she looked in medical books and write-ups, papers, and she couldn't find any way to treat it. So she said to me, well, here's 3 regimens of chemo that I give women with ovarian cancer. One of them might work, but I don't know, you pick what you want to do. And so I said to her, what is my best option for living? And to see grandchildren. At that point, I had no grandchildren. I wanted to see grandchildren. And she said, I don't know, you just pick. And I said to her, well, I'm a computer programmer. You're the doctor. You're supposed to be telling me what to do, not me telling you what to do. So she didn't say anything. So we left. My son and I left, and on the way home, I said to my son, I didn't get like a really warm and fuzzy feeling from that doctor. And he said, yeah, me neither, Mom. So my other son lived in Texas at the time, and his wife had emailed me and said, Carolyn, if it's cancer, you have to come to Texas because everything's bigger and better in Texas. And she knew her aunt was a doctor, and she knew a doctor at MD Anderson, and that's the best place to go. So after this, I started talking to my prime care, found out what was involved with getting a second opinion if she thought it was a good idea. And she said, go see if you can go and get an appointment. She said, even if they tell you the same thing, at least you know you've gotten a second opinion. So I have a lot of miracles in my life, and doing this was one of them. So when I went home, I sat down and I said to my husband, I think I'm going to have to go someplace else to be treated. And he's like, okay, whatever you need to do, we'll do. So I first called my insurance company, and I worked for an excellent company that had excellent insurance, and the insurance said, yes, we'll pay for it other than a $40 copay. And I said, okay, that's good. So then I called MD Anderson to see if they could see me. Now, the doctor in Syracuse, after the doctor found the tumor, it took me 3 weeks to get an appointment to see the doctor in Syracuse for my initial visit. I called MD Anderson on a Thursday, and they said, we can see you Monday.
That's great.
And so I said to him, I don't think that I can get all my records to you by Monday. But we made an appointment for the following Monday. So then it's the flight. I'm getting the flight to Texas because I know how expensive it was. I called around for flights, and the first airline I found, I always attribute to my father that's passed away, that he was looking down on me. I found a flight from Sunday to Sunday for $200 round trip. Never happens, never happens. And then my husband couldn't go because we had animals and things. So I was going by myself, but I'm a big girl, I can do that. And my younger brother called me to find out what was happening, and I told him. And he said to me, I'll be there, Carolyn. When are you flying in? He lives in Florida. I'll fly in and meet you there. Well, he got a flight that landed 15 minutes after I landed. Then my daughter-in-law sends me another email saying my mom and her husband live just north of Houston. They have 3 empty bedrooms, and they said you can come and stay with them for as long as you like, whatever you need. They've got an extra car, so it was like all of us, this all happened in a half an hour.
That's amazing.
And so in this half an hour, I had a plan. And through all of this, I just kept saying to myself, okay, what's next? What next do I have to do? I never said, oh, woe is me. Why is it me that got the cancer? Well, why isn't it me? I mean, I'm not a special person. So just deal with it. So I went to Texas. I didn't know what doctor I was going to get, but I was hooked up with this unbelievable, brilliant young woman who was 7 months pregnant and is now a world-renowned ovarian cancer gynecologist, surgeon, oncologist. And she talked to me, and I loved her. She just was we clicked, unbelievable. So she said to me, okay, I've got a few things that we can do. And she had a couple of the normal regimens. And then she said, I've got this other one that is brand new, and it's called Dose Dense. And she said, we're just trying this out. And she said, but I think it might work for you. So let me explain to you what my cancer was and why it wasn't why it was tough to do. So I had a tumor, but the tumor was benign. That doctor was right. But my type of cancer was a squamous cell carcinoma, which is normally an exterior melanoma, like skin cancer. So the tumor was benign, but the squamous was all coated it and also coated everything in my abdomen. So it wasn't like a blood disease. It was just somehow this cancer got inside my abdomen. So she had to treat it differently than the other ones because just putting it in your blood isn't going to kill it. So the regimen that I went on, and she said to me, the only problem is when she worked with this with the women, she said by the end of the rounds, which is 6 rounds of chemo, she said 75% of the women stop before it ends because she says it's really, really tough on your body. You're going to be like really hurting. And I said to her, is this my best chance? And she said, I believe it is. So I said, okay, we'll do this. I'll get through 6 months. And I did live through 6 months of hell. A lot of days sitting on the floor, just rocking and moaning.
In pain?
In pain and just like all over, not feeling good. You go from 1 minute you're constipated, the next minute you have diarrhea. You go from being hungry and be able to eat and then running outside to throw up everything that you just ate. And you lose your taste buds. Like, I never experienced anything like this. So you don't realize that you lose your taste buds and you can't taste anything. And I would go to the store, like I went to a Subway and I got a chopped salad and the same dressing and everything that I would get back home. And I'm eating it and I'm going, they must use different dressing. This doesn't taste right. And then it dawned on me, well, I'm not tasting anything. All I'm feeling is the texture of chewing the lettuce. So I went to the store and I bought like jalapeno cheese and everything that I knew would be really spicy, which I don't normally eat. And I went back and I tried eating this stuff and I couldn't taste it.
That's amazing.
I could not taste this hot, spicy stuff until it got down to my stomach, and then I tasted it in my stomach. So I found that going through this and not having any taste buds, eating was more about a texture than the actual food, the taste of the food, like lettuce and watermelon and anything that felt cool and crunchy was good to me. And everything else was like, I had a Cheeto, okay, so I got a jalapeno Cheeto. This is what it tastes like. So I bit into it and it literally tasted like I just bit a piece of styrofoam.
Interesting.
No taste at all, just like styrofoam in my mouth.
Are you a cook too?
I do cook.
So you like seasoning and now
Yes,
you have no
yes.
taste. Oh.
Yeah, no taste, no taste.
I hate that.
So you tend to eat things that you shouldn't be eating, if not eat nothing. I was losing 7 pounds a week when I was on chemo. So my regimen was, I had a portal put in below my chest, which was a direct delivery of chemo into my abdomen. So they literally dumped chemo into my abdomen. And then that took 8 hours. Then I had to roll around so that it coated everything inside. So the first week, it was a 3-week on, 1 week off. So the first week, I was in the hospital for 48 hours. And the first one, 24 hours with an intravenous chemo. And then 8 hours of the IP, the stuff being dumped into my abdomen. And then I had to roll around. The next 2 weeks were just like 8 hours of the intravenous. I only got the IP once a month and then a week off. And I had to go through 6 rounds of those. And like I said, it was not an easy feat to do. A couple of humorous things that I didn't realize when you go through chemo and you have cancer is when they say that you lose your hair. For some reason in my mind, it never occurred to me that I was going to lose my hair all over my body.
Oh, it's not just the top of the scalp.
Not just the top of your head. Like, everything is gone.
I never heard that.
I know, right? I'm going, what is happening to me? And it was great because I didn't have to shave my arms and my legs for a while. So that was very interesting to me. So I went through the 6 months of treatment. I had a few times chemo leaked into my abdomen once. I dripped out, so my whole belly, I don't know if it was infected or whatever, but it got really big and really hard and really hot. And I was in the hospital for 2 weeks that time because they couldn't figure out if it was an infection or whatever, and it's like the chemo. So I was in like in quarantine for 2 weeks because they had to make sure that whatever it was, wasn't something that would be passed on. The other time it leaked into my arm, the chemo, and that was interesting because I don't know if you remember what happened to Popeye's arm when he ate his can of spinach. Well, that's what happened to my arm. I looked like, whoop, like Popeye. No muscles, just big and red. That time I didn't have to stay in the hospital, but it was kind of painful. So after all the chemo, I went home, still bald, and it's never come back.
That's wonderful.
It's never come back.
How many years has that been now?
11 years.
11 years. And
And
the
I-
doctors told you had 3 months
The first doctor told me
to live.
to live, that I wouldn't be
11
around.
years later.
Yes. And I actually didn't hear that she said that until the middle of my treatments. And at the same, few months after I was diagnosed, my older brother was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer. And he told me that the doctor told him he had 18 months to live. And so when I was talking to my husband about this, and I said, well, why did they tell him 18 months? You never know. I said, the doctor in Syracuse never gave me a expiration date. And he said, well, yeah, they did. And I said, well, what do you mean? Well, it doesn't make any difference. It's already passed. No, Dennis, what does it mean? What do you mean? She said, gave me an expiration date. So he wouldn't tell me.
Okay.
So I called my son, who was there, and I said, Joe, what did the doctor tell you? Oh, Mom, it was so long ago, I don't remember. I said, Joe, your father won't tell me what they said. He says, I don't want to. So he hung up. But so he called me back a few minutes later. He must have been feeling guilty. And he said to me, she didn't say you were going to die. She didn't use the word die. He said, but she did say they'd be lucky if I was around in 3 months.
Well, this is a great story. You made it to 11 years so far.
11 years.
And right now you are healthy. And so you have a longevity that's going to last as long as...
I am now going to live until 100. I'm sure I'm going to live till 100.
To 100? That's the age my dad and mom wanted to make it.
Yes.
You had said something about the best way to detect this. Let's go to part 2, and we'll ask that question. Okay, let's do the recording real quick. This is an amazing story.
What I was wanted you to, what I thought you
I
could
can
do.
always edit that.
Yeah, let me just stop
I'm
this
gonna see
too.
if